In the right hands, it serves as protection.
An oak tree, double my height, possibly even triple, uprooted. Less than 2 hours to go before all of this closes and we begin Ash Wednesday. Tonight we are live downtown in Sun, Louisiana.
Now, from Louisiana's News Channel, this is 9 News at 6.
Good evening, I'm George Sells.
And I'm Donna Britt. A police pursuit in Gonzales has many of you just talking away this evening.
You've been weighing in on WAFP's Facebook page since we first reported the story at noon. A Gonzales police officer tried to stop an SUV for speeding. A chase followed, and when it ended, the officer discovered the vehicle he'd been after was filled with off-duty police officers, including top brass. Tonight, we hear from the top cop himself. Here's the I-Team's Kiran Chawla with her investigation, Chasing the Chief.
It was a celebration to say farewell to one of their own.
We all met at the police department, and we loaded in the same vehicle and traveled to Baton Rouge.
Gonzales Police Chief Sherman Jackson was just one of the 7 Gonzales PD officers in a privately owned SUV headed to the capital city for a night out at Sullivan's, a restaurant and lounge. Were you guys drinking?
I can't speak for anyone else. I can tell you that I had probably 2 beers throughout a 5-hour period.
The night was fine until the trip back to Gonzales.
1:30, dispatch, 27 stop.
It was 1:36 a.m., a Friday morning, November 18th, a week before Thanksgiving last year. A Gonzales police officer is running radar near St. Elizabeth's Hospital on Highway 30. He'd later write in his notes, a 2003 Ford SUV whizzed past him at a high rate of speed, clocked going 65 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. From there, the chase was on.
LA 30 is Burns Solid.
The officer got behind the SUV as the driver headed down Burnside Avenue into the heart of Gonzales. The driver, who had slowed down to 45 miles an hour, did not stop. In his report, the officer wrote, "I activated my emergency lights and sirens on my fully marked police vehicle." The I-Team obtained copies of police dispatch audio tapes.
Several. We're still northbound, Burnside.
All while Chief Jackson says he and everyone else inside that SUV being chased thought it was a prank.
We looked at one of the guys who was texting on the phone, and we all thought he had set it up to get stopped.
Police reports obtained by the I-Team shows officers were going to various locations to assist with the traffic stop. One notes in his report he performed a U-turn on Burnside, flipped on lights and sirens, and began to call the pursuit. At one point, you can hear tires squeal. Another officer advises dispatch the driver inside the privately owned SUV is not alone.
Vehicle I stopped multiple times. Burnside Circle K.
It was one of our officers that we recognized who was at the office with all of us while we was getting prepared to leave, waiting for people to show up to leave. So there again, we thought he was in on it because he knew we were all together.
Yet another officer on duty who notes in his report, "I was traveling a high rate of speed to cut off the pursuit," offers to set up spike strips to puncture the SUV's tires.
I'm going to try to get up to 61 so that spike to go on.
But the driver of the SUV would soon change course, heading toward East Ascension High School.
Going eastbound Worthy.
And then another turn.
Going northbound Irma.
The officer with the road spikes has repositioned and notes in his report he began blocking the roadway for safety.
I'm Cornview and Worthy, Cornview and Irma.
Now I seen some lights down at the end of Worthy at Prepare, and that's when I said, "Well, guys, this not a prank. I think they for real."
And that's when the driver of the SUV pulled into the parking lot of Gonzales City Hall. The pursuing officer wrote in his notes, he then got a phone call from his sergeant telling him, quote, "Hey man, that's us. Kenny's driving." The driver of the SUV was Gonzales Police Sergeant Kenny Stell. And he had not been drinking?
No.
Okay.
He don't drink alcohol.
The pursuing officer wrote in his police report, 3 of the officers approached his vehicle laughing, saying they thought we were escorting them to the office. He says one of the officers then told him, quote, "Man, y'all ain't got no life." With the chase over and the SUV stopped, the pursuing officer wrote, "No further actions taken."
Were any of you guys ticketed?
No.
If I am doing 65 in a 40 or 45 and you pull me over, am I going to get a ticket?
Well, it'll be up to that officer who makes a stop. We allow them to use discretion in many cases.
As for no tickets being issued,
professional courtesy is one thing. This wasn't a professional courtesy issue. He had the right to do his job if he wanted to. In our view, it was we perceived it as a prank. But in hindsight, yeah, I tell you this: if we were in anybody else's jurisdiction, immediately we would have stopped.
I asked the chief what disciplinary actions, if any, were taken. I was told this is an internal situation and that he did give the driver of the SUV an oral reprimand by counseling him, saying he should have just pulled over. Now, you can also find the full incident report on our website, WAFB.com. For the 9 News I-Team, I'm Kiran Chawla.
Isaac came and went. You can put an asterisk by that. But many communities are left preparing for what lies ahead, and that is even more water.
Yeah, a different kind. That includes Santa Ma in Ascension Parish, and that's where we find our Kiran Chawla tonight. Kiran?
Well, Donna, it's been all day that we've had truckloads of sand being delivered here, and even at this hour, we've got people taking sandbags, and again, these are just precautionary measures, and that's the point that officials want to get across tonight. Listen to the facts, not the rumors.
The pumps are pumping, the levee's holding. We're good as long as that continues to happen.
A statement meant to dismiss any and all rumors. That being said, the Ascension Parish president is saying don't panic, but just in case, be prepared for a worst-case scenario.
Our biggest concern was the overtopping our pump station. If that would have happened, Lake Maupaw would have probably came into the Santa Ma area, and that's why we did the voluntary evacuation in the event that that would happen.
As of now, all 7 pumps in Ascension Parish are working, but Santa Ma Fire Chief James LeBlanc doesn't want you relying solely on the pumps.
We're operating off of mechanical equipment. There's a possibility if you got pumps that are running 5 and 6 days, 24 hours a day, around the clock, that you could have a mechanical failure.
So all day, truckloads of sandbags have been dropped off at the fire department, and entire families have been digging, filling, and tying bags.
We're just being precautious and getting our sandbags together.
This is why so many families are building a sandbag barrier around their homes. The water is just inches away from entering this home, and the Amite River is only expected to continue rising over the weekend.
Today we've moved all of our furniture and belongings and brought it elsewhere to try to keep it safe.
The initial floodwaters were pushed in by the storm surge from Isaac, but all the rain that has swollen the Amite River has to make its way downstream, so the water levels are expected to rise by at least a few more inches. Another issue, though, these murky waters may not recede till the middle of next week. In the meantime, all eyes are on the pumps.
We're hoping that the pumps don't fail, that the levees hold, and we'll keep our house, so we're just praying for the best.
And we hope it is the best case scenario here. Again, that is a voluntary evacuation. A place for shelter is the Trademark building at the Lamar Dixon, and they are taking large animals as well. I'm told that a mandatory evacuation will only be issued if one of those pumps fails, and if a mandatory evacuation is issued, they will then also find a shelter for the dogs and cats. So again, just a voluntary evacuation from here. For now, we are live in Santa Ma. Kiran Chawla, WAFB 9 News. We'll send it back to you guys.
Thank you, Kiran.
It was supposed to be a great place to work out, the Powerhouse Gym.
Except it can't seem to open. 7 months behind schedule now, and customer complaints are through the roof. WAP's Kiran Chawla has been looking into this one. She joins us now with more.
Complaints not only to them, but to our newsroom as well. The Department of Public Works says they issued Powerhouse Gym a permit almost 3 months ago. But till this day, it doesn't look like much work has really started.
Plywood, a lock, and a chain are at the Powerhouse Gym. Kerry Chauvin with the City Department of Public Works says he issued the gym's permit nearly 3 months ago, but since then hasn't received any requests for an inspection.
It would tell me that there's not any work going on.
Paperwork shows the company contracted with the job is out of St. Augustine, Florida. While we were at the gym, there were no construction crews in sight. Chauvin says Powerhouse has until November 3rd till their permit expires.
Once we get to that date, they haven't requested any inspections or an extension to the permit, then we'll go ahead and void it out.
I don't think it's ever going to open. I think everybody's just screwed out of their money.
Frank Caruso says ads and flyers like these are what caught his eye last year.
It says opening January 13th.
Caruso says he was told if he paid for 3 years up front, he would be locked in for life at the gym for $20 a month. So he signed the dotted line last year in November.
$839.30. $840.
Caruso went to this very office, and every time he says he was told the opening date was pushed back. Finally, he got one of the owners, Ronnie Ola, who told him,
"I'll be open April 1st. He said, "If I don't open April 1st, I'm saying this in front of all these girls as witness, I'll give you your money back." That's what he told me.
Do you have your money back?
No.
So we went to the Ola's home for some answers.
I'm Kiran Chawla with WAFB. Can I talk to somebody?
I was told the man at the door was Connie Ola's husband. He opened the door to tell me construction will begin by the end of this week. The contractor and investors would be here tomorrow. And for me, not to worry about it.
What do you tell all the people who have given you money?
He told me, quote, "They haven't given us any money."
Okay, well, can they get their money back?
He replied, "Sure, but the gym would be open by the end of September."
End of September? And if it's not open by the end of September? No answers to our questions there. The Attorney General's office is investigating Powerhouse. Now, if you have any problems with the gym, call the AG's Consumer Protection Division. That number is on your screen, 326-6499. Donna?
Thank you, Kiran.